It is important to have your business coaching as twin flame concerning your mission business be executed by your spiritual teacher. Now, that may be a very new concept for you, and I would like to talk about that a little bit in this video, and also let you know what went wrong in my experiences in the past, so that I actually came to this conclusion myself for my own life, for my own union, for my own mission business. We all have a twin flame. It is simply the deeper nature of what humans are. It's the spirit parts that are belonging together inside of you on the deeper level, living also in an intimate relationship on the earth right now. In joy, in continual building, in eternal growth. And that is the harmonious twin flame union that we're talking about. That is the consciousness state, and then you can also manifest it in the flesh, in the 3D, in your daily life. And you will get to know what will your mission be inside of that, because that's a present that's present, the gift that's present inside of that energy field, and you can start to feel it. You can start to sense it with your heart and start to exude it with your heart when you're in that harmonious union. And then actions come in that too. And then you want to support those actions with structures because that helps. And that's where business structures come in. That's where becoming an entrepreneur is handy, because it means you're going to work autonomously, making use of your natural creative qualities, your life artist gifts that are here in the energetic blueprint with which you are going to give. You're not actually going to give, you're just standing in the flow of that divine light that is in your harmonious union, and you're extending that flow to other people, which makes them grateful so that they send energy back to you. And that can be translated in money too, because we live in a physical world. You also want to have your spirit parts be physical. You want to have your twin flame be physical, isn't it? So that's the twin flame is a very spiritual, physical thing, daily life thing that is intimately in your life. And so is money. The value that it can represent can be the deepest value that you feel in your heart, made of unconditional twin flame love, extended into the world in an energy flow, translated into that thing that is the symbol that we agreed upon to have it for that, and that's money. So just like the twin flame that you want to have physical, you do want to have your value physical, and that's money. Also very spiritual. If you put it in alignment with that, and that's the invitation. That's what happens in your mission business, in your harmonious twin flame union. And if you're not there yet, you will grow into that. So that's where the mission business is. You're going to support those money managing flows with structures. And an autonomously working professional coach, sharer of value, needs to build these structures on their own end. What are my prospects? What are my clients? How can I serve them? What are my services? How much do I give there and in what form? How much time? How much money do they cost? Who are they for? Why? What's my mission? What's my vision? Do I need colleagues? Do I need workers? Do I need technology? Starting to do marketing, starting to communicate about it, doing online marketing, doing social media marketing, learning what Facebook is, learning how to create a group and how to engage people, learning how Instagram works, learning how to work with hashtags, learning how to do lives, learning how beautiful of a platform YouTube is when you start to have your channel there, learning how to engage people there, learning how to pass these people on to deeper levels of your social media structure, learning how to make all these people on social media gather in one place, learning how to present value to these people, the value that they're looking for, and that is also true. Learning how to engage people in such a way that they'll also be wanting to buy your services that cost money. Learning how to be inside of this never-ending communication world of social media, of marketing. Learning how to deal with that. Learning how to be a private person and a professional person, and where that ends and where that stops. Learning so many things that structure all of this that you need every day. So that's where business structures come in. And there's so much to say about that. And what do you think about this strategy that you need to get this to work and to build, and then to engage people in the future, and how to engage them and let them refer back to your services and products for what they need? What's your strategy for that? That's all what business building is, what business structures gives, and what business coaching tries to work out with you. Now, I was business coached myself around 10 years ago, a little over 12 years ago at this point. It's 2023 now. And I learned all these business aspects. And it was kind of a holistic system that I did this with. I loved it actually, and I learned a lot about it, and I tried it out. I tried many projects because you can, start to share, and that's a start, and you can make that into a certain format, and that's a start certainly, and then you can make a project in which you, for instance, say, I'm going to test this out for 3 months and see who wants it and who can I help, and let's really sell 2 of these things, and this amount of time and this amount of money, and that's my service, and I try to sell 2 of them in the next 3 months, and I'm going to see how that is for me. This is my test project. And if you have many test projects for different things and they start to work, well, then you want to combine them into a business. So that's, for instance, one way of seeing a very short explanation of one aspect of what that can mean, to do many projects, to start to learn how this works, and then build a business out of that, of the things that do work, and make that official, and start to have an acknowledged business in the actual official world, where it's connected to governmental structures and whatnot in the country where you live. So for taxes and whatnot, which is a whole other topic that you need to learn about, and how to integrate that with your build structures that manage what you're doing with your content. And sometimes, those governmental rules and whatnot, and taxation ideas, they also have enormous ideas and rules and structures and whatnot that you all need to take into account on another part of what you're doing in your business, right? That's a whole study in itself. Now, at that moment, 12 years ago, when I learned about all these entrepreneurial structures in a very structured way that was definitively better than everything that I learned before, because I actually before that already had been learning about all of this for some years and executing it for years as well already, 6 years as well already officially or something. And so that was not new to me. And I also, all those governmental rules and whatnot, that was all not new to me. I was doing that 6 years before that already. But I learned this new system and I liked it, and I let it pass through my experiences. And then I even wrote down what came out of that in my experiences, in my sector of work, what worked for me, what came out of the sieve of having lived through all these structures, business structures. And from that one, I even made a book that you can buy. And you could just buy it and work through this whole book and workbook combined for the price of a normal book, instead of a couple €1,000 that I could ask for working with you on all of this for 1.5 to 2 years. So make use of that if you like that. It's on Amazon. This is what I all did. Okay. But there was something going on with it that is actually what this video is about. And that is that all these things were 12 years ago when I learned that, connected to the ego personality that was going to do this. And I'm not saying that you don't need a healthy psychology and personality to have standing in the world, through which the deeper energy of harmonious union is filtered the world in. I mean, you do stand there as a human somewhere too, you know, and what I do as a human colors what that is for how I pass it through, and I understand that. But that doesn't mean that it all needs to be connected to the ego alone, to the physical person alone, to my personality alone. Because that's not enough for when you want to pass on something, some content, some feeling, some coaching to the depth of twin flame love, to the profundity of soul money. Even if you want to make people feel just better, not even have their twin flame and have their mission. But on that ascended level, because that's where you're going, and you are on the twin flame journey trying to figure out how to work and have money and stuff. When it is only connected to the ego, it's kind of superficial. And it'll have problems to connect with. These structures have problems connecting with. These marketing things will have trouble connecting with your true, authentic, genuine flow of divine energy that moves through you, in which you stand together in truth with your true twin flame. Which will move closer and closer that is going to be true for you in your daily life as well, within the sacred container of the harmonious union state of consciousness. It can't connect to it can't connect to end the ego and your union, because egos can't come in union, certainly not in harmonious union. Egos can't come there. So at the end of the day, all your business structures would be connected to the superficial you that can't come in union. And you'll be dealing with that all day long without it being connected to the deeper you that can come in union. So that doesn't work for yourself, and you certainly can't pass on twin flame union to other people while being in that situation. So for me, after I did all this attention for my education, after which I actually sort of was a business coach myself, I could pass it on myself how that worked. Because it was very much about feeling your value, knowing that you're valuable, and structuring your actions. And I stood for that, so I could pass that on, and I did that. But the deeper I went in my twin flame journey that was going on simultaneously, the more I got problems with all of this. My work sort of stopped. My being an entrepreneur didn't have much lifeblood in it anymore after a certain moment. Because I was trying to go deeper in the twin flame journey. And all of that was tied to my ego personality that can't come in union. Certainly not harmonious union. Which is actually where I was going to, where I was heading towards. So that had a natural ending. I just couldn't get this project to move anymore. I just couldn't get this direction to go through to the next side. And did I do that wrong? Yeah, sure. I'm responsible for myself. But it was also that, however holistic this method still was, it was taught to me as something that was connected to the ego personality that can't come in union. My teacher was in that layer only. And this became very clear only much later and much deeper in the twin flame journey. I didn't know that I went so deep, I did so much investment into my union process towards harmonious union. I did not know that this story was going to get another tale that actually started to come out in that time when I became really close. I knew already for some years that God also promised me that he was also going to bring me towards an economic well-being in this harmonious union space. But I did not know how that was going to happen, right? And then around the time of coming in union, I was reacquainting myself with the idea of, you know what, this is the time. I want to start a new chapter in my life, what I talked about in another recent video around these kinds of topics. I want to have a new chapter in my business life. I need that. I want to go there. I need some extra business coaching. Just to update myself, to get some refreshed advice and whatnot. I'm standing on such a different place now. I'm really doing it now, you know, what it's all about. What I have always talked about, even in my coaching and in my marketing, but I'm really doing it now. And I know that there's this new chapter coming, so let me refresh. So I went back to my business coach. And that's when it all happened, that it all exploded. And I finally started to full completion know that this did not work. It never worked. It doesn't combine with being in harmonious union. And I did not know that this was going to happen to me. And it brought so much clarity. So I went to my business coach and heard a lot of things that were some truth, that were sometimes hard to hear, but I could certainly work with that and be humbled and just start to understand what was meant here. That was good. But there was this sense that something weird was going on at the same time, because I just got this impression that she was actually not behind my content at all, and that she never had been. It just started to sense as though it had been a theater play of her all along. And I was very much distraught by that, and amazed, and also appalled, and also weirded out. Because, really? Was this the whole point? Do business coaches support you and teach you all these structures while doing as if they're so positive and so much pushing you forward in your beautiful content. But that positivism and that support in your content and the understanding was all feigned. It was all not true. It was a lie. It was not there at all. Well, I was questioning that now. What kind of support is that even? Should you stand behind someone and teach them your skills and do as if you support their content so much, but then eventually you actually all the time had not? Is that good? Is that coaching? Is that genuine? Is that authentic? Is that true? Is that spiritually sound? No, it's not. It just shows that you're not in integrity because of, well, what you think is your role, that you execute because you get money. But is that role then completely not grounded and not rooted in reality even? Let alone spiritual reality? See, that was so weird to me, and I sensed that something was wrong. But I still felt like I could get some more support, and this was the place where I was going to get it. So I actually bought a whole year course quickly after that. And I started to roll in it, and I started to download the material, and for some weeks started to look into it, what I could do with it right now to update myself, to upgrade myself for this new chapter. And then it was around the time that I reached harmonious twin flame union, March 2020. This was a definitive, different attunement inside of myself. And I reached it, and I was so relieved I cannot even tell. But I knew I was going there, so it was also the coming true of what I had worked on. It was just very relieving and very beautiful in a silent way. And I knew I wasn't sort of there yet, because I was still going to need to heal all kinds of things in my psychology and body and whatnot. And that would probably be going much better from this, in this state of being, harmonious union. And that was true. It was more profound, going to be more profound than I ever experienced and ever expected, and take longer than I ever expected. But it was so worth it. And I sort of knew that in that moment, intuitively. And what happened then was that this whole doubt of mine in this thing, in this business system connected to the ego personality, was starting to ground itself, starting to get roots, starting to be really true for me that this did not work. When you want to stand for something so profound as harmonious twin flame union and also pass it on and have the rest of your content and coaching and marketing based on that as well, which was always already happening, but I was still moving to the true thing for myself. And now I made the true thing come true for myself, so I could actually continue on with really integrating that into my work in the right kind of way, having made it come true now myself, which I thought was very valuable for all the people that I wanted to help and stuff. So I started to see that this disingenuous feeling, truth, stance was not working for me anymore. And being in a context where someone is the authority that does that to you with negative implications for you was not resonating with me anymore at all. And I also started to experience that the way the content, the context was around the business structures that are just business structures. They're the same for being in the ego as for being in the soul, but they're anchored somewhere else, you see. But these structures are the same, that's true. But the context in which they were presented and discussed, and the language with which that was discussed, was not grounded in this deeper love. And that didn't fit with me anymore. I couldn't understand it anymore. It didn't vibe with where I was landing. And I felt this through for 6 weeks at least, how this felt for me. And then I had to conclude that it actually was confusing me, because I was trying to make work of really grounding in this deeper place. And then this was happening all the time, that it came in the mail every day, and in the Facebook groups, and in the content that I was actually supposed to study, you know, like workbooks and whatnot, to refresh my whole business structure, knowledge, and execution. And it was in all of that, and it just didn't vibe anymore, because it didn't come from that deeper place. It came from that ego personality place where that was anchored. And even though, again, the structures are the structures and you still need to have them, but you need to anchor them in the soul, in the spirit layer. And you need to have a context and a language that knows of that, and that knows the specific difficulties of doing that sort of thing on that level. And I didn't find it anymore there. And I was very confused by it, and it didn't feel right. And I was really trying to stabilize myself in harmonious union. I didn't want to fall out of it. I was choosing harmonious union. Even when I paid for the entire year for this business coaching, harmonious union was many times more valuable to me. And that's also what you should do when you're in harmonious union. Otherwise, you'll fall out of it. Which I've seen happening many times. So this is how I prioritized. You see? Which is why I am now where I am now, also in my mission business development. So that may be just good to know. So I stopped attending that business school. And one thing more that I wanted to say about that is that I think one of the most painful aspects of this story and history was, well, of course, I thought that I had done the right thing from 12 years ago onwards. But maybe I still did, you know, because I'm still here where I'm now, partly because of that. So, okay, good. And I don't want to discard that in that sense at all. And I don't do that. But what more was a very painful aspect was that at that time around my union and harmonious union, that I went back to that place to learn and refresh. That was exactly the time in which the whole marketing around learning business in this system had been completely and utterly shifted towards a marketing, a communication that was about, you are a spiritual coach and I want to help you structure you. Because I know how to structure and you need that. Being a spiritual worker might be very high vibe, but you need my grounding. I'm going to help you. Specifically geared towards spiritual entrepreneurs and women, but that doesn't really matter to me, actually. I think not in this story, at least. But what I uncovered was that the secret message underneath it was, because it was not in integrity, was I look down on spiritual coaches, spiritual workers, because they're so floaty and they need to be grounded, and I only know how that goes. So I can make money out of their stupidity. That was the secret undertone of that whole marketing system. And I know that because it became clear that my content as a spiritual entrepreneur myself was not supported at all, was actually deemed not enough, not valid, invalid. But more than that, it was not only an undertone that I sensed, it also became really true that that was really meant to be undermining my content, what I stood for, the deeper union layer of life, the deeper spiritual truth that is real. That's what the twin flame journey is, making it real. It's really true. It's really here. It's not a dream. It's not a vagueness. You do anchor into the divine truth. That's what harmonious union is. It does feel like grounding and sobering up. But that's the real deal. It's not a ego personality that says that has that as the marketing slogan, that tells you like you need to get my structures because that'll ground you and you need that because you're a spiritual entrepreneur. That's certainly some sort of a part of the truth. But when you look at how I was treated, I will let you know, then you can see that it was not genuine. And the actual truth must have been that it was, I look down on you because you're a spiritual entrepreneur. And you need me because you're stupid. You're so stupid you don't even have business structures. Now, what kind of an attitude is that? Do you want to learn business from something like that? And this is not going to be unique because this is, generally, of course, very many people, business coach kind of people and structures and plans and, programs will not understand spiritual coaches, let alone twin flame coaches, twin flame teachers. Don't understand it. Which then again is not necessarily so that the structures are different, but they're anchored differently. They're understood differently. The context is different. And you won't be understood by people that don't have that, don't inhabit that space of harmonious union. You won't be understood by these people at all. Which always gives way to ridicule. So that's what happened to me. I was ridiculed because I said it became time for me to say, I'm really sorry, but I can't do the course anymore. I will still pay, no worries, because it feels after 6 weeks of tuning in that it doesn't connect with my new state of being of harmonious union that I reached, which I wanted, which my work is about. And, well, that was sort of like accepted, but actually not. It was made very clear by sort of secret communications on social media without saying my name with it. And by mobilizing all kinds of people in my own network that would collude in this whole action, that became a form of gang stalking that held on for around 2 years. I'm not kidding you. That they were actually trying to tell me with their messages and social media posts and Instagram ideas and LinkedIn pictures plus texts and whatnot. And later on also other media, such as sending me emails in my inbox from more addresses and people And the whole point that they were making was that I was completely dumb and ridiculous to state that about being in harmonious union and what the F that would ever be. That was the gist that came out of it. Something about your ultimate lover. Well, that was ridiculous because they still didn't see me together with someone. And they were together with someone already for so long. Don't you see that, Petra? How dumb are you really? Are you blind? Are you out of your mind? Can't you see how married I am? Yeah, sure. I'm indeed not blind and not dumb. Yeah, I can see that. And it's not about what I stand for. It's not about harmonious twin flame union. It's not about the twin flame. It's not about what this is about. And even though you have the words of, I'm working for spiritual coaches, that is thus not true. Because I stand for and in with both feet the space of that spiritual depth and spiritual truth right now. And I'm committed to staying there, no matter what you say or think. It is indeed something very different than you know or have ever known about. It is different than what you think it is. That's the whole point of the twin flame journey. And I was ridiculed for that, and ridiculed. Now, at the end of the day, this was also my inner work because it was still my twin flame journey in which I experienced that. And what do we do with stupid, crazy things and upsets on the twin flame journey? We do the inner work with the key tool, remember? And I did that as well. So I had to turn everything around. I had to see that I had been bullying myself. I had been gang stalking myself. And I could stop that. And I took 2 years for that. So in that sense, everything was my inner work and I made it stop. It was great healing. It was immense healing. It healed how I had been programmed because my mother and my parents and my family had been my first bullies. And now I could also process that and let that go through all this turning it around until the level of that I saw that I had done it to myself on the soul level. And I did that. That's how the spiritual twin flame journey works. So don't think I have never had any problems or something. I had huge problems and I had to work through it over years of time with my bare hands, myself, with the twin flame tool called key. I had to work myself through that. But this was really the most devastating thing that I have seen in spiritual business coaching. Doing as if that's the new marketing slogan. Presenting something as if they're going to give you such a gift so that you, spiritual floaty persons, can now finally ground with financial and business structures. And even though there is truth to these words, when the reality of the social background, the personal background of these people saying this is actually in truth that day when something real comes along about true harmonious union, they not only ridicule it or they don't believe it. No, they're going to gang stalk you for 2 years to make you feel how dumb you are and how ridiculous. While, as an extra note, here comes the women aspect too. Saying that they're doing this for women because there's so much nastiness among women around. And in this school, we're never going to do that to you. You are safe here with women among each other. Sure. So what happened? Exactly what they were saying not to do. And how is that called? not being in integrity, being a hypocrite. So it can be okay when you have business coaching for teaching the structures, but you don't know anything about the true depth of spirituality, and you're honest about that. But that is something very different than being a business coach that thinks they need to do as if they know everything about how you should act as a spiritual teacher, while in fact they're hypocrites. They know nothing about it. And when you really arrive, you're going to be made ridiculous and told you're stupid beyond belief. That's just hypocritical. It's not being in integrity. And I don't want that for you. So that's why I make this video about that, so that you understand that you need to make your choices very strategically, thinking about everything that I just told. When you want to be learning mission business and also want to go deeper in the business aspect themselves, which is really what I would advise, absolutely. But think about this story and where you're going to go to learn this. I am also a full-blown business coach if you want that. If you like what I do with social media marketing, you can also learn that from me or in conjunction with me. This is all going to be part of the year course when I will reintroduce that, and you can be part of that too. And of course you can also come for one or a series of private meetings about this aspect in which you can go deep, and we will be using the method in my business book as well. Yeah. So I hope you learned a lot. This was a long story. I hope it was worth it for you to have listened to it. There is a whole science behind what I do, but also a lot of experience. And in general, money plays certain roles on the twin flame journey. And in this video, I talk about 3 ways in which that is so. And I will see you there. Love from Petra.